Hello and welcome to the ComSpark Magazine interview series. I'm Mark Ingram with Workday, and we are partnering with ComSpark Magazine in a series of interviews. Today I have the pleasure of talking with Sal Palingra. He's the VP of Global Innovation and Technology, along with Ron Anderson, the Chief Information Officer, both of ProAmpac. So I'll start asking a few questions here. Ron, I'll start with you. Now more than ever, strong technology leadership correlates closely with business revenue growth. Tell us about the long-term technology and data strategy for ProAmpac.
Sure, thanks, Mark. Yeah, I think with ProAmpac, as you may be aware, we've gone through rapid growth over the last 4 or 5 years since the company was founded, and a lot of that through acquisition. So we have basically a mixed bag of technologies and systems that we've inherited through the acquisitions and some legacy ones that we already have in place. As a company, mid to long-term strategy, we really settled on the decision that we can't, it's cost prohibitive and too timely and too disruptive to try to consolidate down to a single ERP or a single set of systems, just the disruption that's there. So our approach really to run the financial side of the business is just to integrate data from each of the ERPs that we have, from their financial ledgers, bring those together to a centralized place using Power BI, the Microsoft platform, and using that as our kind of our centralized reporting and decision analysis tool. From a financial standpoint, we're also bringing everything, extracting data from various systems and using that in our kind of our corporate finance, which is based on a PeopleSoft GL, PeopleSoft Financials module. So we've decided that's the best approach, less costly overall, less disruptive, and still leaves us with the challenge of having to support and maintain. I've got like 19 ERP systems in play right now that we're working with at any time. Another long-term strategy we have is to move to the cloud where and when appropriate. As you can imagine, with all those ERPs, every so many years you've got a refresh of the hardware, the operating system. You'd be doing that full time if that was the model. So when we have an upgrade or something going on, that's the time we make the move it to the cloud. Rather than, we don't really have a dedicated concerted effort to do everything to the cloud at one time, because again, that'd be disruptive and costly. But at the right time, while you have the hood of the car open, now's a good time to do that tune up and move it over to the cloud. Another key area around that's strategic for us is I think in a lot of companies as well, is in the cybersecurity space. Every day, every week, you hear about this company getting taken down or hacked or ransomware, and we're trying to stay in front of that and not let that happen. We don't want to go out of business. We don't want to disrupt our growth and profitability. So everything we do is geared with a security design built in, whether it's an application we're customizing or a solution we're selecting, and also just a high focus on getting people attuned to security awareness and best practices in that space. So spending quite a bit of time and investment in the security space as well in our strategy. I mentioned Power BI before. I'll probably talk about it a little bit more later in a follow-up question, but we see that as the glue. So with all these ERPs, there's key data we're trying to extract from each of those, whether it's around production output, quality of product, purchasing, and our sourcing information, just the overall operation efficiency of the company. And so we're using Power BI as that central source to extract that data and then present it in the form of dashboards or reports, or drill down queries that our executives can use and a lot of our management can use to make rapid assessment analysis of our data and make decisions on the fly without having to, again, replace 19 ERPs to get them all looking the same. As Sal mentioned, or as we will be mentioning, we still are in a very much acquisition mode, so we're adding new companies as we speak, and that's another strategy in the future. So we have to stay nimble and flexible to adapt to those. We never know when they're going to come up, and when we have the opportunity to expand our market offerings and product offerings, we'll make a strategic acquisition, and IT's got to be flexible enough, nimble enough to bring those in and get those to bear as quickly as possible. I think there was a question around how do we balance the long term with the tactical, and I think one thing that's helped us is last year we implemented a project portfolio management process that has a kind of a structured, more as objective as possible scoring model. When project ideas are raised, they're brought forward to joint steering committees that are made up of the various business divisions we have and IT leadership, and we work together to kind of put an objective ranking on that project. So we can compare one project versus another, see which one has the best return investment for the cost involved, and perhaps the best competitive advantage that we may bring to the market in that regard as well. So we started about a year ago. It's working pretty well. Into Sal's area of focus yeah, I think we found that those IT related projects that bring us a competitive advantage or help us with some innovation, somehow they magically rise to the top of the chain of projects that we should do. So so I think it's working. We make sure we pick the right things. Not every project is the right way to spend money, but I think with this methodology, we're still kind of in the growing pains of using it. But it's starting to prove that the right stuff's bubbling to the top, and then we're working on the right things, and the balance of the longer term and immediate tactical things are seeming to come out of it.
I'm curious, this isn't a prepared question, but just as a follow-up to that, is that more of that scoring system around projects, prioritizing those? Is that more of a methodology that you've developed, or is it an actual technology that you've?
It's probably more methodology that I've maybe inherited or actually helped build in John Deere. Was kind of the first place that I was involved in developing that, brought it forward with my other prior companies, and we sort of introduced that and are following it here and leveraging some of that past experience.
Well, you mentioned John Deere, and really you have a very impressive background with success and experience, including being an entrepreneur, and your leadership roles have included great companies like you mentioned, John Deere and Kubota and Deloitte. Beyond this specific example of the project scoring capabilities and how to prioritize, which I think is pretty fantastic, would love to learn more in the future on that. But how have those experiences prepared you for the success that you're experiencing as the CIO of ProAmpac today?
Yeah, sure. I think as my career's evolved and reaching the CIO level, it really is been reinforced. But you have to know a little bit of everything, I guess. You have to have a broad range of scope and experiences. I'm not a deep technologist anymore. I think the last program I wrote was 30 years ago, and the last report I built was probably 25 years ago. You just don't get that opportunity anymore. The pace of technology has been so rapid. It hasn't really allowed for that. But I think in all my past experiences, in my time at Deloitte, that was geared on large project management, ERP implementations. You learn there to basically set an expectation with the client or a customer or an end user or a stakeholder. Then you learn to either meet that commitment or exceed it. And so those are things that when you go and work with a company like ProAmpac, now as you work with my stakeholders here, I'm following that same example. Don't overcommit and don't underdeliver. You gotta meet your obligations. Mm-hmm. Moving through my career chain, I've taken on higher levels of IT governance and financial OpEx and CapEx budgeting, which is key in my role. I've been deeply involved with Sarbanes-Oxley controls when that first came out in 2003, and that permeates almost every public company these days. And you can't do anything without those controls in place. And even here, even though we're a private equity company, we're trying to achieve that level of Sarbanes-Oxley status in case we ever did go public, or the case may be. We're moving down that path as well. So there's at least 50 or 60 IT specific controls that have to be measured and modeled and improved every day. Similarly, I mentioned cybersecurity before. That's been such a huge focus here. When I worked at Kubota, we also had over a $4 billion credit corporation where if you bought a Kubota tractor, you could finance it through Kubota. The regulations and stringencies of data security on the banking industry, the credit industry came into play in states like New York and Massachusetts are really extreme with the hurdles you had to meet as a cybersecurity data protection and compliance. And so got a lot of good experience with that, which is now coming into play here as we're trying to enforce our information security strategy across ProAmpac. So I think a lot of these things come to play. I've been exposed to multiple ERPs, which has been helpful here with all the multiple ERPs we have. So it's interesting. When I joined ProAmpac in January 2019, don't always know what to expect, but once coming on board, it was wow. There's not a lot of stuff that I've encountered here that I hadn't at least had some exposure to or experience before. I'm able to bring some of that that knowledge to the team that's already here. I've got a very good established IT team, so I can leverage them. But kind of having just that previous perspective to try to guide the ship, if you will, and rely on the experts in the detailed areas. It's played out pretty well.
Has there been anything? You're coming up on 2 years, so congratulations on your anniversary coming up. Has there been anything that surprised you at ProAmpac that you haven't run into?
Yeah, I think the thing that surprised me is I guess I'm no longer surprised by anything. I started my career before the IBM PC came out, so I'll update myself there. And I
Yeah.
remember, I think my second job where I first got my hands on a PC with a one sheet spreadsheet that could do multiplication, math, and stuff like that. And it just over the last 4 decades, my career has just followed the journey. Client server, and now we're moving into cloud. And I realize a lot of it's just repackaging the same old stuff. It's because I was asked once at Kubota, I was asked to explain to the executives what cloud was, because they thought it was this magical thing that would solve all their problems. Mm-hmm. And so I drew a picture of a server, an operating system, a database, application, and a network diagram. I said, okay, that's our on-premise solution now. So I drew a picture of cloud. It was a server, an operating system, a database, an application, and the network that connected them all. And I asked, what's the difference? And really, there isn't any. If you look at the pictures, it's all built in the same components. It's just how the IT industry has packaged all this and made it available to the market, where it's now more cost effective. You can get economies of scale. You can inherit the securities from a major provider that we couldn't afford to implement all those pieces ourselves. You take over the reliability and high availability. You can build disaster recovery at a third of the cost that you could if you had to build out redundancy in our own data centers. So so the journey's been there, and and my expectations are it's not stopping. This pace of change has been very rapid over the last 40 years. IT continues. If there's anything, there's a move to commoditization and driving the cost down. So things are getting cheaper. On one aspect, but then as that happens, at the same time, there's opportunities of new ideas, new innovations that come up, and it creates the opportunity for new companies to form and change the landscape and put some companies out of business, and they take that spot and moves forward. So really, that's what I've seen the last several years here at ProAmpac. I think we're just I think we're a nimble enough company, a forward-thinking enough company that we're recognizing the advantages of cloud, the advantages of really focusing and heightening our data security posture. So a lot of stuff, as I said, that I experienced or learned from my prior career positions, it's all very applicable here and very timely, I think. And I don't know yet what's the next thing's going to be that we don't know about yet, but I'm sure we'll be poised to and ready to take those on when those are presented to us as well.
Well, maybe we could put our heads together and invent the next thing. That'd be great.
Yeah, figure it out.
So we've not intentionally ignoring you here. You must have a lot on your plate. ProAmpac continues to grow through acquisition, and you did 5 acquisitions alone in 2018. I don't even know what the current stats are on where you are, but I understand you're going through some currently. So knowing that the goal is to have a one ProAmpac united front, and that as a company and as you continue to acquire all these different systems and products and people and everything else like that, how do you find yourself being so successful and continuously in integrating these companies, primarily in the people and the product, so you're not losing focus on who you are?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So we have ProAmpac is a really strong team focused on acquisitions. They're so well versed in understanding how businesses are aligned with our strategies, especially in terms of capabilities, of product mix, of market focus, the value of the businesses as they're added to ours. And then a huge part of that is ethics, and a really, really important part are the people and the culture. When you have the right people and the right culture, integration is really not as challenging as it seems. So part of what I'm working on is integrating technologies, how to build those into systems, how to look at our market segments and our product segments and make sure that we're representing the new company's products and they're fitting under our umbrella. Each of the companies that we acquire have great products and great people, and so it's almost fun. It's like a lot of times it's like a kid going into a candy store because we have all these new toys and we have to figure out how to integrate those and then provide our customers a broader range of solutions. So the integration that I work on is product and market and mix and innovation and technologies and how we can just better represent those to our broader customer base. Ron's has the bigger challenge because he's integrating systems of these new companies and making sure that they're able to talk to each other and that we get data from these new companies, both internally and externally for customers. In general, when we look at systems from an innovation standpoint, where I work, we ProAmpac, we continue to lead the industry with technology. And I think a lot of what we're trying to do, and it's more and more important today, is more and more remote access. And as Ron said, we've moved to a Teams environment. This whole transition to remote working wasn't that big for us because we were a little ahead of the curve in that way. A lot of us are working remotely already, and a lot of our leadership works remotely. So we were able to pivot pretty easily there, and we're able to to integrate with acquisitions and new customers in the same way. I think, like Ron said, as we look at change, I mean, the only constant is change, and it's happening, and we just got to roll with it. The key is to stay ahead, minimize the impact of this change for both us internally and our customers externally. And a lot of our new developments are focused on that, ease of doing business, even when we're remote. And we'll talk about some of the technologies that we've integrated. So in general, good people, good products, good culture. It's much easier to integrate, and it's an opportunity to bring more value and more products to our customers.
So I think that's
more than you were looking for. But
no, it's fantastic. I think organizations often tout the importance of their people, and how can you not? People are at the core of every business, and it's great that you're focusing so much on the culture of all these acquisitions that you're making, and it's not just about the product you're acquiring, but how do the people fit into the business? I think that's fantastic. So when you think about, you mentioned COVID, you were ready for remote work, but have there been any other impacts besides just where somebody works from that have been either challenges or positive outcomes that have resulted from the way that COVID has impacted your business?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, the key is really accessing the data so that we can make business decisions and upgrading these systems so we can see and understand orders, so we can look and see how our products are doing. Our customers can also access data and be able to interact with us, and really looking at costs and you slice and dice that data so that you can make good decisions. I mean, it's so much easier to make good decisions when you have good data. And the Power BI for me has been a huge, and I think for a lot of our leadership, a huge benefit in being able to access data at your fingertips, to look at it from a plant level, a customer level, a product level. And I think Ron can speak even more on Microsoft BI and that implementation.
To have Power BI work and have the data, you've had to have gone through some sort of digital transformation in your business just so the data is available to begin with, versus being on pieces of paper in a filing cabinet on the plant floor. So maybe you can start with just where you are in your digital transformation journey and how that's really helped you with being flexible today and being able to solve these problems by providing data.
I'll make a quick comment and then let Ron jump in. But the largest amount of work from innovation, from marketing, from sales is slicing and dicing the data so that it can be compartmentalized and you can pull out what you need from that. And so what we had to do is look at products from a market standpoint, even breaking down products. We have so many. It's not like we just have, we're Chevy and we have so many, just a few cars. We have thousands of products, and it's categorizing all these products and coding them so that we can look at them separately And then you have to look at those products as they're produced at different sites, different customers. You have a customer who might be ordering from 3 different sites and very similar products, and you have to be able to look at those and understand which are coming from which sites. How can we look at profitability of these? And so the easy part, I would say, was from marketing, sales, innovation to categorize all these, and then Ron can jump into the more difficult part of implementing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think actually, to touch on that, and I won't take credit for this. Power BI was a selection decision ProAmpac made before I joined, but it was a very wise decision. Basically, we were talking about before about the multiple ERPs and data sources that we have. Fortunately, we have a team. I have a team that reports to me of 3 very seasoned and experienced Power BI developers. Some have come with just some prior experience with Cognos or Tableau, but they're able to quickly adapt and leverage Power BI and move that forward. And yeah, they know where to get the data. They know SQL. They know how to pull, extract, and transform data out of the various source systems. But the real key, and Sal touched on this before, is just really the good people we have in the company and the teaming aspect of this. Without the business knowledge, without that power user who knows the data, who knows the categories that Sal referred to, who knows all the different variations of product, or depending which type of data you're looking at, financial data versus product data or production data. The data is meaningless. It doesn't turn into information until the Power BI teams with these we call them data wranglers, I guess, is one term we've created with a team we built, our power user group. But our technical people work with the data wranglers. They get the data, they pull it out, they go through all different iterations of it, trying to make sure they've got the right field, the right definition, and then present that in the way that it's going to be the most advantageous to the user, whether it's on a table or a dashboard, or considering the drill down capabilities, you want to get down to lower levels of detail. All that's built in, but it's really been I think the question kind of talked about people, process, and technology. It's been a huge amount of technology and even a greater amount of people in the whole aspect of it, and not IT people, but really the business knowledgeable people working hand in hand to bring these things forward. And then our process is just more the standard methodology that we use to extract the data, to get it transformed, to get it presented, and then get it blessed. And we kind of have a certification process so that when a report or a dashboard has been certified by this collective group, then the business user knows they can trust that data is the one source of the truth, and they can rely on that and build off of that. And we do have the capability, we're updating some of our data reports almost on a real-time basis, others a couple times a day, depending on how often you run the extracts. But it's all been, I say, a great teaming effort. It's not just IT; it takes everybody to do this. But it's been a really good, well received capability that we're using across the company. And again, I give kudos to the person who made the decision before me, because it's saved a lot of headaches on the ERP decision front around replacing or upgrading or consolidating, which we'd rather spend our money on new innovation, new technology, rather than just kind of repainting the house, just to keep the basic foundation running.
Yeah, this is just a follow-up question, but with your data strategy from the core systems, are you pushing all that out into a data warehouse first, or are you pumping it directly into Power BI?
Well, we're basically just creating Power BI cubes. So in effect, a data warehouse, but each like a cube for finance, a cube for quality, a cube for production. We have those kind of segregations, if you will, and many others as well. So doing that kind of transformation to a different data source, and using that for the reporting and dashboard pulls off of that. So we're not really banging against a live production transaction-oriented system. We're using a data warehouse concept to do the reporting and other information off querying and drill downs all happening off those cubes.
Are there any parts of your business that have been more challenging or slower to digitize, to be adaptable to today's environment?
Yeah, we're still. I can't say we have everybody there. We have 4 major business divisions, and our flexibles product division is probably the most farthest along because of the ERPs they already had in place. So we put and they're also 70% of our revenue. So it was a good idea to focus on those first. We have other divisions that are coming up. So we have different ERPs, different data sources. So we're gradually including those into the overall mix. So it's not so much that they're difficult. It's just it takes time to get there and get those other environments and users involved in the process more than anything, I think. So we'll get there. It's just a matter of time. And and the effort that it takes to make that migration.
And I think we'll just we'll wrap on a final question here. Change is always difficult, no matter how prepared you are for it. And it's definitely necessary to keep pace in our ever-changing competitive landscape. What do you do to evangelize and affect transformational change from an organizational perspective?
I can start with that, I guess, and if Sal wants to jump in. But yeah, I think it was said before, the only thing constant in life is change right now, and in rapid change, as I mentioned before, in the IT industry for sure. But I think where ProAmpac's been successful is that we really tend to be a very open and transparent company from the leadership on down. If you ever get the chance to meet our CEO, he definitely walks the talk, and he's there. He cares about people in a very sincere way. And I think that resonates across the company, where people they care about him, they care about the company, they care about each other, and we work very collaboratively in a positive mindset. So I think when you're in that mode, people are more adaptive to change. They don't see change as, gee, it's a burden, or what am I going to lose? They see it as, hey, where's the company going? How are we going to grow? How are we all going to benefit from this? And as Sal said before, it's a candy shop, right? What's our next opportunity? What are we going to learn new, and what are we going to have some fun with that we didn't know about before? So I think that's been key. I think also we hear a lot about the concept of boundaryless behavior within our company, but we try not to get hung up too much on formal bureaucratic processes or silos by this business organization, that business organization. You can't talk to that person without going through that person. I think the model here is, if you have a problem to solve, get the right people in the room to solve it. We'll sort out the reporting hierarchies later. Obviously, there's a governance and budget control that takes place, but that eventually goes through that process as well. And I think with that, people are treated like people, and there's especially with this remote workforce, is another reason why we've been able to shift so effectively, is that people already have been kind of self-accountable, self-responsible. They know their job, they know what they got to get done. Their management lets them do that. If there's a problem, management's there to help. If they need some direction, management's there to help. But by and large, everybody's expected to show up and get your work done. And I think that independence, if you will, no one's looking over your shoulder saying, what are you doing right now, and what were you doing last Friday? But that just allows people to be more receptive to change and more flexible when it comes.
I think the collaboration is just a key part of our business, both internally and externally. I mean, we're building an innovation center in Rochester, New York, and it's called the Collaboration and Innovation Center, CIC. That's going to be an added resource for our customers. We're going to relocate our Dazzle, we call it our design and sample lab. We're going to have physical and analytical labs there. We're going to have shelf life testing. But what we're doing is we're making changes so that it's easier for customers to collaborate with us. This year we launched what we call Maker, which is an online portal where customers can go in and design just about any product that we produce, put artwork on it. They can download those files, use them internally, and they can request prototypes and just don't have access to the labs the way they did, or access to producing prototypes. So we're creating more and more remote opportunities for customers to collaborate with us. And in general, I think all the systems that Ron's group is working on, and the technology that me and PD and marketing work on under our COO, it's just making business easier, both internally and for our customers externally. And I think that's what systems are, is building them so that they're at hand, they're intuitive, and they make business easier for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, what a great pleasure to speak with you both, and sounds like a great organization at ProAmpac. I mean, just from an internal standpoint, everything you've described sounds like a very high trust culture, which is really important, and all the things that you were describing, and that true collaboration and commitment to your customers, providing tools and meeting them where they are, and providing them that ability to work together is very, very impressive. So I thank you both, Ron and Sal, for joining me today. Great pleasure getting to know you a little bit better today. Please visit comspark.tech for additional interviews. Thank you all, and have a wonderful day.